Imagine spending $1 billion building a stadium, and then FIFA says no. Not because it was ugly, not because it was small, but because of things you'd never even think to check. The grass, the shadows, the temperature inside. One country built a stadium specifically for a World Cup bid, and FIFA rejected it anyway because the roof blocked too much sunlight from reaching the pitch. That's what we're diving into today. The real reasons FIFA turns down perfectly good stadiums, and some of them are genuinely insane. Let's start with the basics. FIFA, the organization that runs the World Cup, has a list of requirements every stadium must meet to host a match. That list isn't short, it's hundreds of pages long, and it covers things most people would never imagine. We're talking about specific wind speeds, specific locker room sizes, specific distances between the stands and the pitch. Even the color of the seats matters. So what actually gets stadiums rejected? The first big one is capacity. FIFA has a minimum seat requirement depending on the match. Regular group stage games need at least 40,000 seats. The final needs at least 80,000. And here's the thing. Those aren't just bodies and chairs. They have to be proper seats, with sightlines, with unobstructed views, with enough space between rows that a normal adult doesn't feel like they're being folded in half. A stadium in Mexico during the 2026 World Cup planning process had to undergo massive renovations just to meet those sightline requirements. Some seats were physically too far to the side. Viewers in those spots would have been watching the match at a 45-degree angle. FIFA said no. The stadium had to be redesigned. Now here's where it gets interesting. Grass. Just regular grass. You'd think it's not that complicated, right? Cut it, water it, done. Wrong. FIFA has detailed specifications for pitch grass, the type of grass, how it's grown, how it responds to heavy foot traffic, how quickly it recovers after a match. Some stadiums in warmer climates were rejected because they couldn't grow the right grass under their conditions. The natural turf kept dying, and FIFA, at least for World Cups, has historically resisted artificial turf for main matches because of player safety. One of the most interesting rejections involved shade. Not enough shade, too much. There's something called the grass growth problem in covered stadiums. If a roof covers the pitch, the grass doesn't get enough direct sunlight, it becomes weak, it becomes dangerous for players. Soft ground, uneven surfaces, higher injury risk. FIFA requires a minimum amount of direct sunlight to hit the pitch. Some retractable roof designs were rejected because even when open, certain angles of sunlight were blocked during key hours. Think about that for a second. A stadium architect had to figure out not just how to build a roof, but exactly where the sun would be at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday in June and whether enough UV light would reach a specific patch of grass. And we haven't even talked about the media yet. FIFA doesn't just run matches, it runs the biggest sporting broadcast in the world. The World Cup final draws more viewers than the Super Bowl, and FIFA knows it, so their media requirements are extraordinary. Every host stadium needs a dedicated broadcast compound, giant trucks, satellite equipment, miles of cables. There needs to be a specific number of camera positions, and not just anywhere. FIFA maps out exactly where cameras go around the pitch. There has to be a dedicated mixed zone. That's an area where players walk past journalists after the match and can stop to give interviews. There has to be a press conference room that meets exact specifications, a press box with a minimum number of accredited journalist seats, power backup systems in case of outages. Some smaller stadiums in countries that were hoping to host failed this test entirely. Not because of the football, because of the TV infrastructure. Here's one that surprised me. Distance from the city. FIFA actually cares about how far a stadium is from the nearest major airport and city center. There were guidelines around transport accessibility. Host stadiums need to be reachable within a reasonable time frame. If your incredible new stadium is in the middle of nowhere with no public transport and a 2-hour drive from the airport, FIFA has concerns. During the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, all 8 stadiums were kept within a small radius specifically because of this. Fans could attend multiple matches in a single day. That was intentional. Qatar knew FIFA's accessibility requirements and designed around them. But there's something even more unusual than all of this. Temperature. Specifically, inside the stadium, Qatar proved this was possible. Air-conditioned, open-air stadiums. But the technology to do that at scale didn't exist widely before. FIFA started including thermal comfort guidelines for host stadiums after player welfare complaints about extreme heat matches. Some stadiums in hotter countries had to install massive cooling systems just to qualify. One stadium in the Middle East reportedly spent more on its cooling infrastructure than on its actual seating construction. Let's talk about something most fans never consider: toilets. FIFA specifies a minimum ratio of toilets to capacity. There needs to be enough bathrooms to serve the crowd during halftime, which is about 15 minutes, without creating dangerous crowd pressure situations. Some older European stadiums, beloved for their atmosphere and history, have failed modern FIFA standards partly because of inadequate sanitation infrastructure. Adding more bathrooms sounds easy, but when you're retrofitting a 100-year-old stadium, it's an engineering nightmare. And here's the thing people miss about all of this. These rejections aren't FIFA being petty or bureaucratic for the sake of it. Every single requirement exists because something went wrong somewhere. The grass requirements came from matches played on dangerous pitches. The broadcast rules came from early World Cups where footage was useless. The capacity minimums came from safety disasters in older stadiums where overcrowding caused deaths. FIFA's rulebook is basically a history of everything that's ever gone wrong at a football match. That's what makes this fascinating. You're not looking at a list of preferences. You're looking at a document written in injuries, lawsuits, broadcast failures, and crowd disasters. So, the next time you watch a World Cup match in a gleaming modern stadium and everything looks effortless, the pitch is perfect, the cameras are everywhere, the crowd moves smoothly, know that what you're seeing is the result of an insane amount of infrastructure that had to survive one of the most demanding stadium checklists in all of sports. FIFA has rejected billion-dollar venues. It's turned down historic grounds. It's said no to entire countries, not because their passion wasn't enough, because a patch of grass didn't get enough afternoon sunlight, or a camera platform was 2 meters off. That's the World Cup, the biggest show on Earth, and it demands a stage to match. If you want more breakdowns of how the World Cup actually works, the stuff nobody explains, subscribe. There's a lot more of this coming.